Okay, hi everyone. This is going to be a really short tutorial just to finish off our series. I apologize about the jackhammer noise in the background. There's a construction site next to me. Okay, so all we're going to look at today is one skill that we haven't touched yet, which is just setting up and animating a camera in case you want to render an animation. We've looked at rendering wireframes, rendering stills, looking at lighting. In this case, in case you want to provide a video to someone showing them roughly how things would work, what you can see here is that I've got the camera set up to really showcase one of the artworks. And if we look over in the 3D viewport here, it's really easy to set up. All I've got is a camera following a path, and it's focusing on an empty, which is this little sort of empty object here. And I've got them in a logical relationship together. The empty is kind of in the middle of the path, but I could move the empty. If I move it across, I could be focusing on this ceramic. So now we're sort of looking at this one. I could probably put it in a more illogical place, like, I don't know, if I tried to put it over this one here, it might look like a little bit of a strange camera path. Looks a little bit more weird. But you'll kind of find a way to get this system to work for you. So let's just set it up really quickly. I'll just delete the ones that I have here. So let me just go to this collection I set up, and I'll delete all the components. Okay, so first of all, I just made a little collection or folder called Camera Animation. So first of all, let's add the obvious thing. Let's add a camera. Shift A, and I'll just type in camera. Okay, that's cool. And I can just reset all its transforms, and we can just leave it where it is. I might just RX90 just to make sure it's kind of pointing forwards. Okay, so that's good, and that's inside the collection, I guess, because I had the collection selected. Great. So the next thing, we're going to Shift A, and this time we're going to add a curve, or a Bezier, actually. B-E-Z, curve, Bezier curve. Okay, so we get this thing pop in here, which is a curve. First of all, I can just press S, tap S, and make it larger. I don't think we've looked at curves so much yet. A curve is basically, unlike a mesh object, it's just a mathematical curve, which means that it's defined, if I highlight one curve here and move it, it's defined by control points. If I press E, I can make another control point, and you'll see that if I press R, as I rotate the control point, I can sort of change the shape of the path. So I think what I'd done previously is I put the path sort of coming from outside the door. I thought that would be cool. So I'm going to do that again. I'll put my camera, I guess, at the doorway. You can also scale these handles, and it will change the curvature of the path. And let's put the final control point here, and maybe we'll go up to this sculpture here. The next thing I'll do is I'll just lower the whole curve. So GZ, I'll move it down a bit. I guess I could even have it sort of at the head height of our human, which it's pretty close. GZ, move it back up. That's fine. Okay. And then the next thing, I'll just go back into Material Preview, or Solid Mode's fine. The next thing is I'll add Shift A and empty. Hold on. Add, what am I looking at? Add empty, plane axis, that's what I wanted. Empty plane axis. Okay, and now I'm going to put the empty where I want the camera to be looking. So let's see what that looks like if I just G for grab, and I'm just going to put it where that sculpture is. GZ, move it down, and there we go. All right, so now it's only a few more clicks left. First of all, I grab my camera, and we're going to put two constraints on it. Constraints, this is the tab second from the bottom here with my camera selected. And the first one I'm going to grab is follow path. Okay, so then I need to select my path, which if I grab the eyedropper tool, it'll just be this Bezier curve here. And you see that my camera has snapped to the curve. Now, if I just bring up a timeline here, if I change one of these to my timeline, and zoom in a bit, I might just, can I there we go, timeline. You'll see at the moment nothing's happening. We just need to keyframe this offset. So here it looks like my negative 100 is the end of my curve, and looks like my 0 is the beginning. So at frame 1, I'll just pop it at 0, hit keyframe, go to the final keyframe, and I'll just type in negative 100, hit enter, and then again I for insert keyframe. So now if I go back to my timeline and I press play, you'll see my camera is just moving along that path. The only issue is that it's pointing in the same direction the whole time. So if I look through my camera here, view cameras, set active object as camera, it's probably going to be a slightly strange robotic looking animation, kind of scanning across, but that could be what you like, but it's not really looking at anything. So all we need to do is make it point at that empty we put there. So the next constraint we'll put on the camera, I'll just collapse that one and put in track 2. And then I'm going to track to my object empty. So now, for the entire of the animation, the camera is pointing at the empty. It's a very, very simple way to animate a camera. So now if I press play, it's cool. It's kind of like we walk in the door and we're really like looking at that sculpture the whole time. It's kind of nice. And even as we go in close, we're still looking at the sculpture. So really simple way to set up a camera track. And there's other things we could do. We could change the height if we wanted, the camera to go low at any point. I could GZ and lower that so that, I don't know, it might look a little strange. I think I've gone through the floor. This could be a very weird camera path. Yep, okay, I definitely went too low. I'll GZ bring that up a little bit. But okay, you could get as creative with this as you want. But there's just to show you that of course we can make as much variation as we want. I'm going to undo that because I think it looked better when it was straight. Okay, so then the last thing is exporting this as an animation. To export an animation, we need to do 2 things. First of all, we need to just set up our render path, which in the output tab here, we would just click where it's going to go. So last time I was doing our outputs to our, I think our renders folder or something like that. I would just make a new folder here called frames, and I'd accept that. And then the last thing I'd have to do is just make sure I'm on PNG, and that's an image sequence. And what that's going to do, that's going to render out one image for every single frame. And then we would just take those and compile them into a video sequence, which I can show you after this. And to render our video, all I then have to do is render animation, and it will start rendering 1 frame at a time. And once we've rendered the entire sequence, we can compile it into a video file. Okay, all right, I'll see you soon. Okay, and so let's say that you've rendered all of your frames. To turn them into a video, all you need to do is make a new Blender file, and you can make a video editing file. So I'll just go File, New, Video Editing, and then I just need to Shift A, and I'm going to add in an image sequence. And if I go to the folder I made, which was test frames, just press A to grab them all, hit enter. I did a very kind of low res render, but basically now they've come in, and if I press play, they'll play as a video. So then I just make my project the same length as my frames. So I can just copy that frame, put that there. That's my project length. And then I just make sure that my output is set to, I can make a folder called video. I actually have one already. Just set it there where I've got all my tutorials. And then make sure that the file format now, instead of being PNG, is FMPEG video and MPEG-4, and you can just set the audio codec if you have audio. So now if I hit render animation, we will just transform these image sequence files into a video. And then that's it. Okay, I'll see you in class. Bye-bye.